Let me ask you a question. Are you the type of person who won't speak up when something bothers you? Or you'll tolerate things that you don't even agree with and you're not even sure why? Maybe you tell yourself that it's not that important, or you just don't want to rock the boat. Or maybe you just always hated confrontation. But if you look deeper, what if it's not really about those things at all? What if it's about fear? Fear of being alone, fear of someone leaving. This is the fear of abandonment. And this one shows up the loudest in romantic relationships. You silence yourself to avoid conflict. You take blame even when it's not yours, or you stay longer than you should. But it doesn't stop there. It shows up in friendships too. You downplay your growth so nobody feels left out. You stop sharing your wins. You make yourself small just so you can be relatable to all your friends. And even when you start leveling up, you still shrink yourself down. And then there's family too. Maybe you became the easy one, the one who never asks for too much, because deep down, you're scared that being too honest might cost you the love that you worked so hard to keep or to get. Abandonment doesn't always look like somebody leaving. Sometimes it's giving up pieces of yourself to keep people from leaving. And that's the problem, because we don't notice that it's happening until we're already trapped in the cycle. The fear of abandonment, like most of the fears that we've been talking about or that we're going to talk about, it's a subconscious fear. You're not going around mentally thinking, oh my gosh, I hope they don't leave me. I hope I don't have to be alone. I hope they care about me. It just quietly rewires how you connect, what you think about yourself, whether you feel worthy or what you deserve. So here's where it typically starts. From the start, we're wired to crave connection and safety. That's just human. But if you grew up around love that was inconsistent, or if your needs weren't met, or if the ones that were supposed to love you and show you love didn't, that wires your brain and your nervous system to associate love with instability. Even when things are good, you brace for impact. You need constant reassurance. You become, super aware of the emotional temperature in the room because your body got trained to read shifts in mood or tone or distance. It starts reading those as actual danger. And that's where your anxious attachments come from. You don't feel safe unless you're constantly securing the relationship, even if that means giving up your own peace to do it. And that fear doesn't go away just because you become an adult. It just starts looking different. It shows up as people pleasing, where you'll bend over backwards to avoid conflict, or you'll prioritize other people just so you don't give them a reason to leave. Another way it shows up is pulling back. And that means you shut down emotionally just so that you avoid getting hurt. But here's the one I love. Here's the one that is so familiar for both men and women, is clinginess. You overtext, overthink, overcheck because you need to feel close to feel safe. And let me stop here for a minute, because this is a big one. Whether you're a man trying to win over a woman or a woman dealing with a man and y'all are just now starting to date, I'm sure you're both very familiar with clinginess. In my experience, from what I've lived or done or have heard about, it's always the man or the insecure man being overly clingy to the woman that they're interested in. The good morning, beautiful texts every single morning. How did you sleep? Have a great day, beautiful. And just the constant texts. And then, God forbid, somebody doesn't respond in 4 minutes. Is everything okay? Are you mad at me? And then in their head, they're just like, well, maybe they're just busy. Yeah, they probably are. You got to stop spiraling every time somebody doesn't text you back in 3 minutes. They're not ignoring you. They're not ghosting you. They're not secretly trying to hurt you. They're living their life. Not everyone is glued to their phone. Not everyone communicates the same way that you do. But that doesn't mean that they're done with you. That doesn't mean that they don't like you. It doesn't mean that they're pulling away. And it definitely doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. That's just your anxiety talking. That's your fear of being too much or not enough, or your fear of being forgotten. And you've been listening to it for way too long. Let people respond when they're ready. Let silence just be silence. It's not a rejection letter. Every pause isn't personal, and every delay isn't proof that you don't matter. Stop letting 5 minutes of silence trigger 5 hours of self-doubt. Okay, I just need to speak on that real quick because I know how prevalent clinginess and neediness is in the beginning stages of a relationship. Anyway, the next way that this fear of abandonment shows up in our adult lives is self-sabotage. And if you've heard anything that I've said about myself, this is what I used to do. This was my fear of abandonment showing up. You end it first because somewhere deep down, you just feel that they're eventually going to leave you. So at least if you leave first, you can control the hurt. And the way that a lot of people self-sabotage is you basically just become an insufferable twat. You just become difficult to deal with. You become an asshole. And ultimately they leave. And then it reaffirms, oh, nobody stays with me. Yeah, because you're an asshole, because you mistreat people, because you're selfish. You did it to yourself. We do it to ourselves. When you self-sabotage, the word self-sabotage, you're doing it to yourself. We have to change the patterns to discontinue doing that to yourself. And that's what this is all about. That's why we do all this. That's why I make these videos. So we can get to the point where you're no longer self-sabotaging your life and you can go on and live this beautiful life that you're meant to live. And let me be clear, you're not choosing these behaviors on purpose. It's just your nervous system doing what it thinks is protective. Now let me tell you what it sounds like when somebody else has the fear of abandonment and they project it onto you. They might tell you, you've changed. That's because your growth scares them. They think you're going to outgrow them and then leave. You don't hit me up like you used to. And that's because they're panicking about the disconnection that's taking place. I guess you don't care anymore. And now they're making you feel guilty because your boundaries make them feel rejected. Or, this is a good one. Wow, that's how it is now? Because you didn't respond in a way that they expected. You've grown past that. And again, now they feel rejected. They'll guilt you. They'll make you feel responsible for their emotions. And they'll flip it on you because deep down, they're scared that you're going to leave, thus abandoning them. And their biggest fear is a self-fulfilling prophecy. But it's not always toxic. Sometimes it's just unhealed. But if you're not aware of their patterns, you'll start abandoning yourself again just to keep them calm. And here is what the fear of abandonment does to your mental health. When you're constantly chasing safety in your relationships, you're going to start losing connection with yourself. Anxiety is going to become your baseline. You're going to live on edge. You're just constantly scanning their behavior or any shift that may signify that they're pulling away. And then depression kicks in. Whenever you feel unseen or unwanted or emotionally alone. The next one, and I was guilty of this too, your self-worth drops. And that's evidenced by all the desperation texts. Are you mad at me? How come you didn't respond in 30 seconds? I told you good morning, beautiful, and you didn't say it back in 2 minutes. That's neediness, that's desperation. And we've talked about it before. Desperation repels. You're putting off desperate energy. And what does desperate energy do? It repels. So we got to fix that. And next, you struggle to trust anybody. You either over-attach or you detach completely. There's no middle ground. And then you get stuck in these cycles, picking the same kind of people, feeling the same kind of pain, convincing yourself this time will be different. But in every relationship, you're taking you with you. So you're always doing the same thing, just with a different person. And then you say, oh man, all these women are crazy. Oh man, all these men are crazy. You're the common denominator, and it's not going to change until your wiring changes. Now I got a little tidbit of information for you. Your brain isn't always the one that's driving. Your nervous system remembers every time you felt abandoned, whether it was somebody leaving or somebody just not being emotionally there. Now, anytime something feels like distance, your nervous system sounds the alarm. Oh my gosh, panic mode. And that's why you feel too much 1 minute and then not enough the next minute. That's why you either go cold or you go all in way too fast. Your nervous system is constantly trying to protect you from rejection, even when there's no threat in sight. So, how do you break the cycle? I tell you one thing, you're not gonna break it by reading positive quotes and saying affirmations. You gotta finally see what you're doing and understand why you're doing it. To start, you can go watch a little video I made on self-awareness. I'll link it in the description below. go watch that, because it is imperative that you become self-aware and that you understand the actions that you're taking and why you're subconsciously taking those actions, because those actions are what's keeping you stuck. Those actions is what is keeping you unhappy and trapped and unfulfilled. And when you see the pattern, you've got to make a different choice. You've got to admit the truth to yourself. Most people do not like looking in the mirror, but the fact is, you've been ignoring how you feel so you don't make other people upset. You stayed in situations that didn't make you feel good just so you wouldn't have to be alone. And you've let people treat you however they want to treat you just as long as they stayed. You tolerate disrespect. You tolerate not being fully loved or cared about. You're in these selfish relationships that's not fulfilling just so you're not alone. Or you've held back what you really want to say. Or, and this is the big one again, you've been texting too much, constantly looking on your phone, waiting for a reply, and then feeling sick when they don't. That's self-abandonment. You gave up parts of yourself to feel safe with other people, but you didn't do it on purpose. You learned it young. You were just trying to survive, but now you ain't that kid anymore. It's time to change it. Therapy can help. Reparenting yourself can help. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. But the real change happens whenever you start questioning the beliefs that you've always had. You can start here. It's okay to speak. It's okay to be seen. And if someone walks away because of that, they were never really for me. And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's an absolute truth. People are in our lives for a reason, or for a season, or forever. I can't remember how that quote goes. A reason, season, and forever, I think is how it goes. But regardless, we try to keep people in our lives that were meant to be for a season, and we just try to keep them around forever, despite the fact that their mere existence brings out the worst in us. Now let's work on fixing it. It's not about trying to be less needy. It's about breaking patterns that you didn't even choose, patterns that you picked up from trying to keep people from walking out on you. First thing you need to do is you got to call it what it is. As we've all spoke about before, fear is not always going to show up as fear. In this particular instance, sometimes it shows up as just being chill or keeping the peace. Like you might say, I don't want to be dramatic, but you're really just staying quiet so somebody doesn't leave you. You might say, they're probably just busy. Now you're actually panicking and just trying to talk yourself down. Or some of you might say, maybe I just expect too much. Now you're just reiterating the fact that you've been taught that your needs are a problem. Be honest with yourself. If it feels like self-betrayal, it is. Here's another fun fact. Your body reacts before your brain ever catches up. We spoke about this before. That's why a pause in conversation can actually feel like a rejection. That's why a delayed response can feel like someone doesn't care. But it's time for you to take control. When you catch yourself looking at your phone or checking your phone over and over, stop. Become conscious of it. Stop, because you're making yourself sick because they haven't responded in 2 minutes to your good morning, beautiful text. Maybe they're in the shower. Maybe they're on the toilet. Who knows? But they're not ignoring you and you're coming off as desperate. You need to just take a deep breath and you need to ask yourself this question. Am I reacting to this moment or to an old wound? Because if this is repetitive reaction where you're just freaking out every time someone doesn't respond to you in 30 seconds, that's not healthy and it's not realistic. People have lives. They're not just sitting around waiting on your text message. Another thing is whenever you feel yourself start spiraling, go grab a pen, write down what actually happened. Then write down what your fear is telling you that it means. So what actually happened? I sent this nice, kind, wonderful, beautiful text message. They didn't respond in the last 5 or 10 minutes. So now your brain's going haywire, and then they respond 10 minutes later. Hey, sorry, I was on the phone with my mom. Whole time, you're freaking out because your brain has told you, oh, they don't care about me anymore. They don't like me anymore. No, they're living their life. They're on the phone. They're not ignoring you. Relax. Next, when you start shrinking down, you start beating yourself up, thinking that nobody cares about you, get up and move. Literally, stand up, go for a walk. Stop focusing in on that thing that's stressing you out, that thing that's giving you anxiety. Move your body. Fix your posture and breathe. Breathe like you're safe. Deep breaths in and out slowly. Change your state because you're fine. You're not in danger. You don't have to chase anybody. Just relax. Certainly, it's a lot easier said than done. Of course it is. But you've got to start somewhere, and eventually you'll get enough self-worth that you'll stop chasing. You'll stop these unrealistic expectations that you put on people that when they're not met, you beat yourself up about it and you shrink and you lose self-confidence and you lose self-worth. I can speak on all this because I've been there and done it. And now I'm on the other side of it. Once you do all that, it's time to set a new standard. And the new standard is, if I have to play small to feel safe, I'm in the wrong spot. If I can't be honest, this isn't healthy. I won't abandon myself just to feel wanted. Even more important than that, I won't put unrealistic expectations on people. I will try to think logically about what's actually taking place instead of allowing myself to spiral out of control, hyper-focus in on the stress that, oh, they must not like me. Oh, they hate me. I'm ugly. That's not the truth. That's your brain going crazy because your unrealistic, unset expectations haven't been met. You got to build some new evidence. Your brain believes what it sees the most. So start showing it something better. Track the time that you spoke up and nothing happened. Remember the people who chose you just as you are. Remember the times that you overreacted on something that was absolutely ridiculous when you actually found out the facts. And notice how peaceful it is when you don't feel the need to chase anybody. Again, you're going to have to practice all this repeatedly. Catch yourself when you're spiraling. Breathe, stand up, get moving. Don't allow yourself to spiral and think that somebody hates you or doesn't like you because they haven't responded to you in 10 minutes. Getting rid of the fear of abandonment doesn't mean finding somebody that you don't think will ever leave. It means becoming somebody who's not going to leave their self, because you've done a lot of leaving yourself by creating your low self-worth, by putting too many expectations on other people to make you feel good about yourself. Stop that. Oftentimes, you're not even telling somebody that they're beautiful or that they're handsome to just tell them. You're telling them to get a response of them telling you that to make you feel good about yourself. You're giving people too much power. You got to feel good internally. And that takes practice, but you have to start somewhere. And as I've always said, the time is going to pass anyway. But stop giving people the power and the expectation to make you feel good about yourself. If you're going to compliment somebody, don't compliment them for the sole purpose of them then complimenting you. If you want somebody to compliment you, go stand in the mirror and tell yourself you're handsome. Tell yourself you're beautiful. Don't tell somebody else that just so they'll tell you that so you can feel better about yourself. You don't just need to feel safe in a relationship. You need to feel safe with yourself. And that is where real healing happens. Your nervous system still believes the old story. It doesn't trust words. It doesn't care about steps. It needs proof. So let's give it some. Look, you got two options from here. Path number one, stay in the cycle. You keep doing what you've always done. Stay quiet when something bothers you. Tell yourself it's not that big of a deal. Over-giving in relationships. And you think, well, maybe this time it'll be different. This time's not going to be different. You're still taking you with you. You're still attracting into your life that which you fear, that which you think about the most. You think somebody's going to leave you, so inevitably that's what happens because that's what you're thinking about. It goes all the way back to speaking about frequency and vibration. You're giving off the frequency of desperation. So you're going to attract being desperate. Once you give off the frequency of confidence, of needlessness, then you're going to attract everything that you want. But anyway, back to staying in the cycle. You watch people's tone. You overthink every text. You keep trying to earn love by being easy and low maintenance and flexible, but it never works. So then your resentment builds. You feel drained, you feel unseen, and then you feel unsure that anyone even knows the real you. Your friendships stay shallow because you're scared to grow past them. Your family sees you one way, and you're too scared to show them who you really are now. And then, one day, you look around and you realize you spent so much time trying to keep people in your life, you forgot what it's like to be yourself. in your own life. Or we can go down path 2. You can break the pattern. Now imagine this. The fear comes up. What if they leave? But this time, you don't shrink. You speak up anyway. You say the honest thing, even if your voice shakes. And yeah, some people might not like it. Some people might leave. But the ones who stay, they're staying because of who you actually are and not who you've pretended to be. Not the version of you that played it safe. Your friendships start changing. Some fall off. Some get deeper. But now you're being real. You're not hiding your growth just to make other people feel comfortable. Your family might push back at first. They might not understand. But whether they catch up or not, you're done waiting for permission. You stop watching every word. You stop overthinking every silence. You stop abandoning yourself to avoid a reaction that may never even come. And the wildest part, you're not even scared of being left anymore. You're not scared of being alone anymore. You're too busy being free. But now it's time to do the work. This doesn't change just by listening. It changes when you start moving different. And this is how you do it. Number 1, challenge yourself today. Pick one of these next things and follow through on it. Text back without over-editing or overthinking. Or say, I disagree, when normally you would just nod along. Or answer honestly when someone asks how you're doing. The point is not to be aggressive. The point is to stop shrinking out of fear. Number 2 is the daily reset. Every morning, give yourself one non-negotiable and say it out loud. Today, I won't check my phone first. I'll check in with myself first. Today, I'll notice when I'm people-pleasing and I'll pause before I do it. Today, I'll name one need I've been avoiding and I'll give it to myself. Start simple. Build momentum. Number 3, you got to put in those boundary reps. You don't build confidence by thinking about it. You build it by practicing. And here's how you do it. Let a text go unanswered for 24 hours. Oh no. Say no to something that you don't want to do, even if it's small. And don't change your tone just because their tone shifted. This is how you train your nervous system to stop chasing safety through performance. Number 4, track your wins. You've been collecting evidence that people leave. Now it's time to collect the opposite. Create yourself a running list. Moments that you spoke up and didn't regret it. Times that somebody respected your honesty. Days that you enjoyed your own peace more than somebody else's attention. That is what rewires your nervous system. Last but not least, the line in the sand. Take yourself 10 minutes and write this down. You know there's power in seeing our own handwriting and reading our own handwriting. It's scientifically proven. So do it. Write this down. I'm done abandoning myself just to make other people feel more secure. I'm done letting silence spin me out. From now on, I'll speak when it matters. I'll stay when it's real. And if someone walks away, so be it, because I'm finally staying for me. Now, read it aloud every damn morning. If you know of somebody that needs to hear this, send it to them. If you got anything out of it, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel. I've got a podcast. I've got an Instagram. I'll put the links to those down below. Jump over on Instagram and shoot me a follow if you want to. I'd appreciate it, especially if you got anything out of this. Go back and watch some of the other videos. Or not necessarily watch them, but put them on. Listen as you walk. Listen as you work out. Listen as you cook breakfast or dinner or whatever. I appreciate you stopping by. I appreciate you listening. I hope it helped. We've got a few more videos in this series about our fears and what's holding us back. Don't forget, as always, make good choices. I'll see you on the next one.